Hi guys, welcome to episode 5 of my healing journey. My name is Smangele Sibisi ngihamba noNosiphiwe kaMkhize. And just to catch up on last week's episode. Yeah. An explosive one. Last week was the ending part of it was heavy for me and I felt like I couldn't talk. Thankfully that we invite God in the space. We invite God before we talk about our problems, we invite God after we've shared, because it always feels heavier actually after you've said it. Because I think that's when you literally sit in those emotions and you just go through them. So last week's episode, after I've shared about losing my mom, I sat in those emotions and dikhalile. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it was finally healing for me to tell someone. Sitting down and sharing with them. I think after losing mom or after burying mom, what I always wanted was someone to ask me, how are you doing? And having to then share what happened on that day, I felt like I was finally healing myself and just saying with how I felt and how everything unfolded. So yeah, and today we are talking something different. Well, a follow-up actually from last week's episode. And last week we didn't even talk about what I wanted people to take out of the episode, but yeah.
Sometimes you don't always have to have and then action.
Yes.
What now must I do from this? Now that I've learned this today or said this today, what am I going to do? Sometimes the lesson is just to sit. Like you said, you sat in those emotions and you felt what you felt and you went through what you went through, and that is lesson enough. And I think that is something that we can, let people know that sometimes in our healing journey, it isn't about loyal list. It's okay, I've done this and I've done this and I've done that. Sometimes the action is just to sit. Just to sit in your emotions, understand them for what they are, recognize them and embrace them. And then you're able then, like how we've always said, we need to go through before we get to the other side, because sometimes we are jumper and we don't go through and it catches us. That's public. So, and that's okay, and thank you again for last week. I mean, as she said, it was a really heavy one, and I thank you again for bringing me into your space to sit with you and share your story with you, and I thank you for that. And yes, it really was heavy, but at the end of it also, I also felt such joy for you. Joy because our lives are about sharing our journeys. Our lives are about how do we walk with each other and carry each other in community, because we are not created to be islands, as we're not created also we're created to be a part of something. So I felt just joy that you are able to share it and you feel safe. I think that's the other thing also, where you feel safe to be able to share your life and share your pain. And as you've touched on, today we're talking about, I think one of the most important things in the healing journey is finding help, because ziningi izinto esiyiphathayo ziyasinda futhi at times, and like I said, we're not created ukuthi siyiphathe alone. So there is our relationship where we can carry each other's loads, but kuhambe futhi kufike at a certain point where we need to start seeking clinical help. People who've got the certificate on the wall, who are able to help you navigate whatever it is that you're going through and give you the tools to continue in life. And with that said, I remember, I think it was episode 1. Episode 1, where you were sharing just Usma, and you mentioned that there was a time in 2018 when, as a country, we were going, I think it was the whole Unene time, where we were going through so much. Yeah, there was a lot going on at the time. And I mean, even now, we're in 16 days of activism, even now. And you said that we're going through a whole lot of GBV issues as a country, and it was flaring up everywhere, and you hit a wall, and wakhala for a whole day. Was I don't know what's going on with her. Uyakhala nje one way. I don't know what to do with her. And then you said that you seeked help. So if you can take us back to that moment, and I think the question I want to ask you is, what in you said, it is not enough ukuthi ngihlezi ngedwa ngiyakhala ngedwa, I need to go to someone who can help me?
You know, sometimes what trauma does to you, kuba nama insecurities.
Okay.
That's number 1. 2, there is self-doubt. 3, there is you wanting constantly to do things right, and perfectionist one. 4, there is you wanting to please people because you feel like there was no one around you to tell you you were good enough, so you constantly want to please other people so that you get that from people. I think I'm going through all 4 of those things. I have been.
Yeah.
And starting my business in 2016, I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted it to be what I wanted it to be, of which it's not a bad thing. But once I started getting overwhelmed by everything, and once things didn't go accordingly to how I wanted them to go, I started feeling like, no man, this is not how it's supposed to be. Why is and it was just so overwhelming to a point of would see, even driving out, what if it was a lot. It was a lot, and it wasn't just that. Also, it was the trigger of the gender-based violence that was just going around, and it just evoked the emotions. It evoked the assaults that I witnessed with my mom, and I felt like, no, what's happening, you know? And I think sometimes because we don't talk about gender-based violence in our communities, sometimes when these topics go around,
Yeah.
we usually touch such topics inside the salon. We listen to radio inside the salon. We talk about those topics, and then they become lighter. And I think one of the things after I went for help that I said to my stylist was, be careful of topics that you engage yourselves in. Because I used to get triggered a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, being Smangele by perfectionist, I was like, no, this trigger is not going to get to me, you know. We're going to talk about gender-based violence, but I'm not going to let it break me, you know. And realizing now, so hard to forget about it, but I couldn't, you know. Every time there was a report, would see another female was assaulted, was killed by the boyfriend, that same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I would tell my stylist, would say, be careful of what you engage yourselves in, because otherwise the next person will feel like So topics that were like strictly based on opinions and people's experiences, do not engage.
Yeah.
Me deciding to go seek help now, I was like, it can be that my same trigger, you know, even the fights that we have, the arguments that we have inside the house with my then boyfriend, it would trigger. And now I think, like I said, because as kulumi ngayo in our communities, it makes it even hard to go ask someone who's or go back home and ask them, because it's like, no, you're just overworking yourself.
Yeah.
You know? And then I went to Discovery Doctors app, and then I typed Wuti, if this is how I'm feeling, you know, what was causing it.
Yeah.
And I remember the first person that responded was said to me, go seek a clinical psychologist, and then tell them how you feel. I found a lady, she's based in Randburg, and I remember communicating on the phone. I didn't even know how to say, this is how I'm feeling, what's going on. I just said to her, I contacted Discovery Doctors and they said I was sick.
Yeah.
So she instantly said to me, come, let's talk. So I then I remember asking my aunt, please come with me, because even driving felt very weird. I felt like I was just panicking. I was anxious. And then we drove to the lady. And obviously, as a black person, I was Tini, Sabona, Unjani, Tini Zingazako. No, I didn't know. And she was sitting across the room. And she said to me, "Why are you sitting like this?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She said to me, "Relax." Hey, it's okay. But every time I went to her, first thing I did when I got in the room, I would fold my arms. I said, "You feel like you need to protect yourself. You are in a safe space. Let's talk. Relax." I remember one of the exercises she made me do was to close my eyes and then just stay there with my eyes closed. I couldn't keep my eyes closed for a long time. And she said, "Why?" I don't know. But I'm anxious. I feel like contours of aliens. And I was like, "No, nothing will happen to you." And the first thing that we spoke about was work, housework. Gosh, at this moment, I'm running my business and I'm planning to open another business. Busy. And then I also mentioned that I want things to go accordingly. And then that's when she said to me, sometimes wanting things to go accordingly, from a past experience, you want things to go accordingly because things didn't go accordingly.
Yeah.
You want to perfect everything, and don't look at it in that it's from an experience that you went through as a child. And then we spoke about the anxieties, and then she then gave me tips and tricks to deal with anxieties when they happen. When you have an episode, try to do this and that and that. And then she said to me, "But I'm picking up other things." She then said to me, "Can we please go see a neurologist as well? Because you're complaining about massive headaches."
Okay.
And I did. She then booked an appointment for me. I went to the lady. The lady did her own tests now, so physically, and she said to me, "I'm picking up." She called it a minor epilepsy.
Okay.
I said, "A minor epilepsy." I'm thinking epilepsy. I'm like, "Whoa, Sisukulmangani." She's like, "No, it got transferred from one generation to another, And she said to me, "For Wena, it's not, it's not like we are fit or anything, you collapse, no." She said to me, "Wena, you zone out in wondering without you realizing." And I'm like, okay. I'm having these things. Because sometimes I would be like talking to someone and then I zone out for a few seconds and then I come back.
Yeah.
Sometimes it will happen while I'm driving. I would literally zone out but inqondo ayikho ukuthi apply break or anything. Inqondo somewhere and then I'll come back. And then she mentioned that. And then she mentioned the headaches, they're gonna get worse if you don't allow yourself, if you don't give yourself time to take breaks. I think he gave me those blue tablets. I think it's Satan Bama migraines.
Okay.
She said, "I'm giving you this, but I want you to be the one that decides in life. Do you want you to go past a chronic migraine, or do you want to take break? Do you want to navigate work, delegate to other people so that it balances life?" And then I think she then sent the psychologist a report.
Yes.
And so the psychologist said to me, "Okay, first on the project we're going to do is delegate work."
Yes.
She said to me, "Who do you trust in your salon that you can give these tasks to so that you focus on smallest parts of the business?" And then I think from then, that's when I was like, okay, so sizoba ne-manager, sibe nomuntu ozosiza ukucleaner. And I think it was difficult to delegate that work because Smangele believes that I can do everything myself and I can do it perfectly how I want it. And then insecurity, smart, they're not gonna do what you want the way you want it. What happens then? Then I went back to the psychologist the second time or the third time. What if I feel that people are not gonna give me what I want?
Yeah.
And then she said to me, smart, you need to understand your life. Ufunctiona ngale ndlela leyo. Abanye abantu bafunctiona ngale ndlela, but it doesn't mean ukuthi work kuphela ufunctiona. Unabo abanye function at the same level that you are. We just need to make you adjust or make you see things differently. Mangabona uhamba ngo-200, bakhona abantu abahamba ngo-50 and it's okay. And you need to accept them. No, 50% wabo about dedicated to work because that's the only percent they have. Wena usuzi program ukuthi ingqondo yakho izohamba ngo-200, senze ngo-200 yonke into, you know. Some people, they're not at your level.
Yeah.
Some people, their lives are okay with 50% and they can navigate them galo 50%. And they're struggling.
Yeah.
And you want to fix them. Don't fix them. It's okay. And I'm like, no. I think eventually I grew into understanding people. I started understanding my stylist. But still there was that thing wanting to fix everyone.
Yeah.
So that everyone contributes the same amount, you know. And sometimes when they don't do bebonke, okay, I'm not allowed actually to get angry at how everyone contributes.
Yeah.
You know. But how do we make sure that at least Smangele starts having trips with her people, you know. Let's start connecting at a different level besides working at the salon. Maybe in that way, sizogcina sijwayelana sonke, mhlambe italent izoraba onto the other person so that we all do the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah,
okay.
That was me discovering actually ukuthi usma unobu OCD, usma claustrophobic, usma unama anxieties, usma perfectionist, and I was like, yo.
But you know what? The fact that you've gotten to that point where you can count is is because you had that conversation.
Yes. Definitely.
With the therapist.
Yes.
And you know, as you were talking, there were a number of things over the Bala. The first thing is that, but this is not how a normal person functions. And I think we need to redefine what normal is. Because your normal is not my normal. But there are signs that show you Uguti, no, you are not functioning as how you are meant to be functioning. And you were saying your kindo was triggering you.
Yes.
All of a sudden you were just upset about it, and you were asking yourself, but this is not how I'm meant to be, this is not how I'm meant to think, this is not, and those are the signs. And I know for me personally, when I started my healing journey and even seeing a psychologist, and I think I was 25, 26 at the time, but I had one of those days, ngavuka ekuseni, and it was a day for work, ngavuka ekuseni, and I just knew I wasn't okay. I couldn't, and I remember sending my manager at the time a message, and I'm trying to think, do I say ngiyagula but ngigula ngiphethwe yini? Ngoba I'm not physically ngisho ukuthi ngiphethwe umkhuhlane or whatever. But I remember just sending her a message saying, I'm not okay. I don't know what it is, but I'm not okay. I'll see you tomorrow. And I thank God that I had a manager at the time, take the day, we'll talk tomorrow. And she just understood that we all have those days where you wake up and you're just like, I can't go right. And I remember spending that day sitting and just writing, trying to figure out ukuthi kwenzakalani. And by the end of the day, like you had with the discovery doctors, about to go seek out clinical help. By the end of the day, I was just like, hey, I've got nothing to lose. Let me go speak to someone. And so there's that element of trying to understand yourself and recognizing,
yes,
something's not right. And then two, you talk about angikwazi, you couldn't have gone ekhaya uyosho ukuthi this is how I'm feeling, because nakhona futhi
you're not used to that environment, also because we have never talked about this.
yes.
How do you bring it up ekhaya ukuthi ngifila overwhelmed? Buza yini sma?
Yini overwhelmed just
Ma, awukusebenza kakhulu phumula man. We understand, but you know this is not work related.
yes.
This is something else that's
Yeah.
different.
So that's the thing also. So getting into a space where we are able to have conversations in our homes about mental health.
Yes.
And when we have the conversations, like how you said, alone we listen to the radio, when a topic a hectic on the radio, and we keep it moving. Gandhi, it's those opportunities where we could actually have deep conversations, but also within our homes, I'm feeling overwhelmed, where in our homes we're able to say
Yes.
and let's ask ourselves, and then say go seek help. So there was that. There's also then you seek the help, you get into the therapist office, you don't even know what's it is not like a dokotela where I go to the desk, I fill in the form, I sit down, you do it in booth.
Yes.
And you're saying you had to get people to come with you because this is something
Different.
that's something different. So there are all of those things which I know we will unpack in time when we have other people joining us to help us understand these
Yes.
things. But I guess for me the question that I have for you now, apart from all those other things, is that journey of seeking out help and these ndozako being brought to the surface. How did it help you?
Like I said, now I was able to understand different people differently now, and their capability of contributing to emsebenzini. That was number one, about work. Two, it is now understanding emotions. Qala uyazi ukuthi you are angry, you're sad, ufuna ukukhala. Ukuthi overwhelmed ngoba utrigwe yenye emotion ubunga understand. So now Smangele started understanding ukuthi mase seyifika le episode le engivele ingishaya kwedisi, how do I function around it?
Okay.
And then I remember at one point I sat with my then boyfriend, ngamfundisa ukuthi when I have my episodes, this is what happens. This is how I fall. And then because usukungibona sometimes ngenza izinto ezikanje, those are my coping mechanism to deal with my episode. So Smangele now besekasa understand ukuthi okay, there's a room for my anxieties and I'm okay with it, and this is how we're gonna function going forward with my emotions.
Yeah.
And I remember after I shared my first post around my anxieties, and then I did a tattoo, and the tattoo was written, the sun will rise and we'll try again. And after I shared that post, people started sending me DMs with, at some point I thought there was this one lady who said to me, the reason why I stopped coming to the salon, Joburg CBD was too busy for me. I couldn't understand why I was feeling anxious, but I didn't want to be at that space all the time when I get to a salon. So I stopped coming to a salon because it was triggering me, And it was nice, not even fun. It was nice. It was encouraging to know there's someone else that feels the same way I feel.
Yeah.
And I was able to have the dialogue with them. It's okay. Ngahamba mina ngayosika, or I'm still actually attending my session, and this is what we talk about. So Usma was saying, I understand that there's anxieties, there's panic attacks, there's OCD, there's claustrophobia, there's trauma, there's healing above everything else. Healing, it's not you heal yapela or you move on.
Yeah.
Healing is you heal towards everything that was broken before you.
Yeah.
And sometimes healing is not what we are polar. It's learning to live with the chronic illness that you have and accommodate it.
Yeah.
So Smangele, after going for the psychological sessions, okay, I've got my panic attacks and my anxieties and my claustrophobia. Okay, sure. So let's identify what triggers these things.
Yeah.
I can never go to Carlton Center anymore. Ngangifila ngathi la mall ingapha. Ngangimangena. Kube ngathi wonke umuntu la phambi kwami. No. I started learning how to cope ukungena phakathi kwe-elevator. Because also elevator spaces used to make me feel like, what if it was a lot. But the sessions really helped me navigate and identify things that triggered. To a point where actually white spaces make me feel better. White spaces, white clothing, white whatever. I'm shopping. I remember at one point my mom-in-law said to me, why? You know, your bedding is white. Pillowcase, why? And I couldn't explain to her, but I knew to me it makes me feel better. Even small spaces that are painted in white, it makes it look bigger.
Okay.
It makes it look fresh.
Yeah.
And it was me now finding things to cope. Even at work. I think with the conversations that we have started, I can have broader conversations with clients now.
Okay.
It's no longer like, okay, so those are about GBV on radio, SMA is able to go deeper actually with conversations. And sometimes I find myself going deeper and I can see it's doing something to someone. That we start having deeper conversations. I feel like people now, they feel like, okay, now we can go deeper.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I see but SMA is able to have conversations and go deeper, and people engage now further with, oh, so you know how to talk about this topic on a deeper level. Let's go deep. I think it was on Friday, we were talking about broken men. Not broken men, but yeah. How do we get to a point where someone starts assaulting their partner? And I think me having conversations with me, understanding some of those men, it's not men, something in them was triggered by something that they reacted the way they did. Of which it's not the right thing to do. But if we had an ear to listen to some of these men when they want to tell their stories, and not bash them to say, you are too soft to share your struggles, you are too soft to cry. You know, if only we could just listen to these men, we can really understand but they come from a broken background. They need healing as well. Healing only doesn't mean a woman heals.
It's a female thing,
Yeah, it's a female thing, and we need to teach women that I got to a point where I was able to engage with clients in a deeper level. Let's not just engage women in these topics that we would have about gender-based violence, trauma, childhood trauma. Let's involve the men as well. They also have their own childhood traumas that they go through as well. And some of them, because the community says to them, they can't cry about it, they can't talk about it, they can't share. They can't. It's not the manly thing, you know. If you start sharing your trauma, if you start sharing your pain. And I'm glad for the conversations that we have, because now Usma can't be that triggered much, but Usma is able to actually go deeper with people and tell them we can't look at this in a one-way direction. It's actually two ways. Let's involve the other gender in it and talk about it.
You know what I love, Sma, what you've said, and I think this is a thing which I personally would love us to walk away with when it comes to seeking help, is that when we sit down with someone who's going to help us navigate whatever things that we're going through, we walk away with tools. Just like you've said now, helps you navigate your life. And so, and I think this is the thing that we need to, there's a lot of stigma around seeking help. And I remember having a conversation once with a cousin saying, ume ugula, uphethwe ikhanda uya kadokotela. Uyakwazi ukuthi uphethwe yizinyo uyazi ukuthi there's a dentist. So my mind and my heart nayo futhi happy igule nayo. And inodokotela wayo, which are your therapists, your counselors, your clinical psychologists, all of those people, counseling psychologists, all of those people are there for us to use.
Yes.
I love that you said that you now know, I can't go there.
Yes.
I can't go through this. This is how I need to actually work in order for me to function in this life, but also to be able to go deeper.
Yes.
Because you know how to engage with people more. And I think that's the thing about seeking help. There is the part of us having the conversation of removing the stigma around us, especially as Black people, on how to talk about our emotions,
Yes.
how to talk about seeking help, how to hold each other within our families.
Yes.
No, there's something wrong here. How do we help each other? Then there is the part of how, what happens when we do get help, and how we become functioning human
Yes.
beings. And creating the environment where we are, like now you've created the environment,
Yes.
where when something happens and you're able to engage in those conversations. And I think for me, with this journey that you and I have been on, I'm thankful that when things fell apart, you had in your mind that actually, let me go find help. Because some of us don't. Some of us feel, therefore this is who I am.
And ngizohlala nginje.
And ngizohlala nginje.
Kusho ukuthi into right.
Yeah.
Even though you know very well it's not.
And that's actually wrapped up in trauma itself. When you feel like you said, trauma gives you insecurities, it gives you certain things where you feel like you can't move past who you are right now, which is all a lie. And I think this is, for me, what I would love everyone to take out of this episode is that you don't have to suffer in whatever it is that you're going through, because there is someone or some place out there where you can go find help. And I encourage us to go and find the help. And I encourage us to not let finances, because sometimes I encourage us to not let finances get in the way of us seeking the help that we need. Just like we've got government hospitals for when I'm sick, you have also non-profit places which offer counseling and offer the things that we need to help us become healthy human beings mentally, in as much as we can be healthy physically also.
And I think there's even people, more than visiting those places, those those NGOs. There's Smangele, that hold up spaces like this that you feel it's okay. I can actually talk to Smile and ask her, how do I navigate? Then probably Smile would say, okay, I know someone that can help in this. We can start. Let's make it a lifestyle to start conversations around mental health, because it's one of the biggest pandemic. We find in gender-based violence. It is also it's one of the biggest pandemics in South Africa. Things that we feel would say they must just be left that way, and they shouldn't be left that way. They are doing so much damage in us that we pass it on to the next generation.
And I think that's the thing people also don't realize is that we think cancer.
Yes.
You think all those other things are passed on. Brokenness is also generational and can be passed on. Traumas are generational and can be passed on. And then you become Usma, who decides to be the brave one, and to say it stops with me. And I'm going to step out and do what has been something terrifying for my family. Because but no one has actually stepped up. Let me be the one who steps up. And it's a brave thing to do, but it's a beautiful thing to do, because you decide it stops with me.
And I think one of the things that we can find ourselves in, that I found myself in, was not being able to open up about this topic to my family. Because sometimes usuyazi family yakho ukuthi kuma topics akanje bareacta kanjani. And it's okay to find family in strangers. Go to someone that you feel ukuthi ngingakhona ukuhlala phansi naye ngixoxe naye ngale ndaba le. Because uzothi uyayivusa indaba vele kuhlelwe ngayo vele, and that time when ikuphatha kabi, it's doing so much damage to you. So it's okay to find. I think what I want people to take away from this is, yes, it's okay to seek help. And it's still okay to find family in strangers. know, it's someone that you feel like I can have a conversation with, I can lay down my problems, and they are willing to listen, and they're also willing to help me navigate mental health. I'm feeling like, you know, I'm just going down the drain.
Yeah. And the other thing also that you'll find when you start your healing journey, you start to understand why people are the way they are.
And how they react.
And when you react, just like how you said, when you started seeking help, you started realizing how your mother thinks, and why she is the way she is. And the moment you stepped into that place, you had grace towards her, which then allowed you to have the relationship that you had in the last 3 years. Because all of a sudden you were able to step back, for what it was, and realize Uma is the way she is because of what happened to her, not because she has chosen to be like this. And therefore then you chose, therefore I choose to now love her like this. And I think that's the thing, the beautiful thing about healing is that you're able to step out of the storm and see the storm for what it truly is. Because when we're in the storm, you only see into
of which it's the storm.
It's the storm itself. But the moment you step into a healing journey, it allows you to step out and see the full picture and the full storm, and then choose, just like the neurologist said to you, I'm giving you the decision on what happens from here. And that's what healing does. You make your own decisions.
And that's it for today, guys. We will see you on the next episode.
Yeah. We'll take a break though.
Yes, we are taking a break. We will see you guys in 2022. And 2022, it's coming with gifts. And we have decided to broaden our space and invite other people, invite the professions, and just have it on a bigger scale. Let's talk about this on a bigger scale.
Yes.
You know. And my healing journey, my healing journey, yomunye umuntu as well.
Healing journey yethu.
So,
but thank you, Smart. Thank you for allowing us into your heart. Thank you for being vulnerable. So that's a word for me this week. Vulnerability is such strength. So thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey, allowing us to be part of your journey. And I look forward to what 2022 brings as we make the circle bigger and we continue our healing journey.
And make it a lifestyle to talk about mental health.